Hi, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, the Pulpit Queen. I'm reporting live from the Robert M. Muntz Library at the University of Texas in Tyler, Texas. And do we know Mimi Herman?
Yes, we do.
Oh, I'm letting her in. I'm letting Mimi in. Anyway, this is where I've been doing my book club meetings, most of them since I started back to graduate school, because it's so handy. I'm already at the library and they have this wonderful little testing room. It's supposed to be soundproof, but it's not. There's some rowdy guys over here in the study room on the other side of me. But welcome everybody tonight. We've got a new person, Amber Albritton. Albritton? Is that how you pronounce it? And she just joined our book club today. We've got, of course, our author, who's our book of the month, and he's waited almost all year to be featured for November. This is Jeffrey Dale Lofton and Red Clay Susie. Fabulous book, one of the best covers, and also, I might mention, one of the best um, packaged books sent to me, because it came in a beautiful box with all this little matchbox car and all these little accoutrements and this beautiful book. I was very impressed. I was very impressed, and when I read it, and even more impressed. So, up, we've got somebody else jumping in. Jeffrey Matthews, yay! My co-host for our Girlfriend Weekend 2024. So we have both Jeffreys tonight. It's good to see you guys supporting all each other. Kathy Ransberger's here, Anju Gattani, Mimi Herman. Welcome, Mimi. I'm so glad you got on board tonight. And let's see, Suzanne Kamada, all the way from Japan. She can only stay for a little while because she's got to go to class, right? What time is it there?
It's 10:02, but yeah, I have to teach a class, so
I know, 10:02 in the morning, right?
right.
Yeah,
Yes.
everybody, you hearing that? So when I hear these excuses, I can't come because it's not my time. I always remind them of Suzanne Kamada, who's barely missed a meeting this year. And I'm happy to announce she will be back on our list this coming year. My web person is now building our beautiful, colorful pages so we can go up on the web. As soon as everybody votes, the votes close December 1st for your books of the year. You can vote for yourselves, everybody. Please do. Most presidents do. Vote. All you have to do is send me your choice for book of the year, international book of the year, and bonus book of the year. Just send it to my email address, and I'm counting votes. And sometimes it's so close, so your vote can really make a difference. Of course, I have the deciding vote if it gets in a tie. I wait to the last minute to vote. So vote, vote, vote. If you're a member, you can vote. So tonight, Jeffrey's here with Red Clay Susie. And of course, I forgot to bring my book here, but I noticed that you sent me this really cool thing. I'm going to see if I can find it. Yes, I'm going to show it to everybody. It's a picture of a whole bunch of his Red Clay Susie books. So, and it even matches the University of Texas colors.
That is
So,
good color.
serendipitous, wouldn't you say?
I would agree with that.
Well, for those of you who are listening in tonight and have not read the book, or this is recorded for the Pulpit Queen channel, and we have people from all over the world get on board after it's posted there because they can watch it from the comfort of their own homes, they often do not know what the book's about. You've had enough practice. Can you give us the big tease on why everybody has to read Red Clay Susie?
Well, Red Clay Susie is the coming of age fiction story of Philbert, my protagonist. And Philbert is born gay with a significant skeletal malformation of the chest in the deep South in the 1960s. And he is fueled by tomato sandwiches and green milkshakes. He is obsessed with cars, starting with this little matchbox car. And his very favorite thing to do, especially when he's a little boy, is to help his granddaddy dig potatoes from the garden that separates their houses. And the reason he loves to dig potatoes is because you never know what you're going to dig up. It's always a surprise. He encounters a series of events that shake his fragile sense of security, and ultimately he finds refuge in unexpected places from unexpected people. And it is an uplifting story, ultimately. I wrote the story because it's actually a fictionalized memoir. Philbert and we share a lot in common. And I started writing Red Clay Susie when I first left home to attend college, LaGrange College in LaGrange, Georgia. The very best thing about LaGrange College at that point in my life is that it was away from where I grew up.
That's what we all say, isn't it?
and I had a rough time of it. It was the first time I was away from home, and as a natural instinct, I started to journal. It was cathartic. I've come to think of it as an exorcism by exposition.
There you go.
Yeah, and that's how I started writing my debut novel. But I finished writing it actually for at-risk youth who are having a horribly rough time of it, as I did when I was that age. That's why I finished writing it, to put one more story of affirmation out there to let folks know that it's sort of, I think of it as a roadmap of sorts, a roadmap not for a car, but a
Right.
roadmap for the heart, for the soul, for the mind, to navigate those difficult times. Because the key, the trick, the path really is to get from one day to the next. That's the way forward.
No matter where we come from in life, we all face these challenges, and whether it's being gay or disabled or shy, painfully shy like I was, and a tomboy, we all have these outward disabilities and inward disabilities. And I think that when we're in those coming of age times, when we're growing up, we internalize it so much. But I'm so glad that we're now talking about it and having the conversation. And it's exactly why I picked your book, Jeffrey, because growing up in a small town in Kansas, we had those same, nobody spoke about things like, being gay or even disabled, or if somebody was different, they were just kind of shunned. And actually, we all want the same things. We all want to be loved. We all need food, shelter, water. And your book is just all those, it's sustenance for anybody out there that's searching for, what we try to find is that sense of well-being and peace. So I cannot recommend it enough. Has there been any surprises on this trip? You've been going to all these book festivals and doing all these shows, and you've been doing a lot of things with Robert Waltney and different people, different authors. Has there been surprises, and have you had any unexpected people from your past show up? Because that always happens on book tours. So love to know.
My gosh, it's been such a wonderful year. I'm so grateful for it. So there have been some surprises, which I'll get to, but I think the biggest gift is this sense of community that is the scope of my world has grown so tremendously. I've met all of the authors and readers who were on the call tonight. I've yet to, I can't wait to meet Suzanne in person, but I met Kathy and Anju and Jeffrey. And I've recently met Mimi and Amber at the Southern Festival of the Book. They're authors as well.
Great to know. They need to get me their books. Yeah.
And so the sense of community, the friendships has been wonderful. And again, I'm so grateful for that. The biggest surprises are the people who come up at an event and just want to hug. There was a young trans man at a recent event who came to me in tears and wanted, may I have a hug? And reading Red Clay Susie gave me the courage to tell my father who I am. And I started just 2 weeks ago binding myself as a first step towards transitioning. And I've actually run into two young people who I think have a similar skeletal malformation that I have. And I would have never had the courage to tell anyone about it, show anyone, acknowledge it even existed when I was in my 20s or 30s. So that's been the most surprising, is the impact it's had on people, receiving emails, receiving instant messages on social media, because that's why I did it. The author's note is a letter to my younger self, and in that note, it's really a letter, and in that letter I wrote to myself, bullies are paper predators who have no more power over you than you yourself give them. They're probably as afraid of the world, probably more afraid of the world than you are. And once you realize that, it's as if a gentle wind comes and lifts them at the edges and carries them away. It is the quality of one's heart and mind that matter most. And your body, whatever imperfections it has, real or perceived,
Right.
the body is precious, and to treat it with as much kindness and care and love as you can, so that it will take you as far and as long as it is able. And the most important thing that I wish I had known when I was younger is that love, true love, is never wrong, and bravely bestowed on whomever is worthy of it. People who've responded to those messages, it's just touched my heart in ways that I can't even put into words. As a writer, that's kind of embarrassing to admit, but it's the case.
Well, it's wonderful that you've written this story, because the more stories that we have that open the conversation, the more people face those fears of the unknown. That's what all prejudice and racial slurs and everything comes from, fear of the unknown. Once people face those fears, they find out, they didn't know what they had to be afraid of. I mean, I flunked speech in high school, and look at me now, I can talk anywhere. It's because I faced those fears, and it was scary, because, I'd cry when I'd speak. I mean, really cry ugly. You know how, some people can't cry pretty. I just cry, and it still pains me to say that I literally broke down in sobs at the Miami American Booksellers Association when I received a prize, and after it was over, I was so embarrassed, but I got mobbed by all these children's booksellers, and they said, "We've never heard a more passionate speech." And here is snots running from my nose. I'm just so embarrassed. I realized, well, why was I so scared of? These people were very kind and loving. And that's what's going to happen when people read your book. You're going to find more and more, and you'll have people come up to you, and because of your book, it changed their life. How cool is that? I mean, that's what reading is. To me, it's the poor man's psychiatrist couch. You read these stories and you find out you're not alone. So good for you, Jeffrey. I am so excited. I want to open this up for conversation. And so if anybody has comments or wants to ask about your process, now let's do it. Let's talk about this book. Who wants to go first?
I think Kathy.
I do.
Go
So
ahead.
I read your book last month, Jeffrey. I think I told you that before. What I haven't told you is that my husband has similar. He had surgery when he was 5. He has scar tissue in his lungs because of the surgery. So he hasn't read it yet, but I'm sure he will. There are more people with this kind of, with a birth defect for him. And I don't think it's been talked about enough. And I applaud your courage about talking about it. And I also applaud your courage about talking about love of all sorts. If anybody can talk about love, it's you. And I have one question. Why did you decide to make this fictitious and not a memoir? And was it right from the start, or did it gradually? I know I write a lot of truth in my novels, and I am in the middle of a decision about a memoir, whether to make fiction or not. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kathy. Thank you for sharing that with us. I decided pretty early on to make it a novel and make it a fictionalized memoir. I think that, writing, whether it be a memoir or a fictionalized memoir, really writing that story is telling one's own truth, and that's so difficult to do. It's also really powerful to do. But I wanted to fictionalize it because I think there's a freedom that comes along with fictionalizing it. Um, I didn't want to hurt anyone. I lived by a couple of I call them guideposts. One of them is to adhere to the fictionalized memoirist Hippocratic Oath, or Hippocratic-ish oath, which is do no harm. And I care about the people in my life. I love them. They love me. It has been very difficult. It was very difficult growing up, but I didn't want to hurt anybody. So writing a memoir, I guess one could change names, but there's not a lot one can do to change the story because it's a memoir. It's not
Do you,
fictionalizing.
do you feel like you got at the truth better with the novel?
I think that it allowed me to explore alternatives to my actual life that I wanted to explore. And like, for example, one of my favorite characters in the book is James. James is Philbert's one true friend all the way from first grade through high school. And he is insightful and funny and plain spoken, and he is Black, and he is and he lives in a world where there is racism. It's just a conscious and unconscious racism. It's just a fact in that world, the 1960s and 70s in rural Georgia. And he and Philbert are, they're kindred spirits in that. They're outsiders. But James sees the world in a much different way than Philbert. He sees the world for what it is. And he helps Philbert at one crucial point. I won't give it away, but he helps Philbert see the world as a more inclusive place. And I did not have that particular friend when I was growing up. There was a boy who was Black, and I was drawn to him. I wanted to be his friend. I never approached him to be my friend because I didn't think he would want to be my friend. And I knew on some level that we couldn't be friends, not living in the world that we lived in. And it has always troubled me. And so writing this friendship was my way of righting a wrong, of exploring what might have been if I had had more courage to act. And so fictionalizing it, that's one example of what I was able to do by making it a novel. And so, but there's also, I mentioned the freedom. I think that there's a way it allows one to tell stories, maybe combine characters into one person, different people into one person, or the qualities or maybe the actions of them, so that it's not pointing a finger at any one particular person. And if one has to tell a true memoir, I think the best advice I can give is to do it with as much. So my goal was to not conduct character assassinations. My goal was to create descriptions of imperfect people, perfectly imperfect people. And I tried to go full force with like a sledgehammer on issues. And I think it goes without saying that people are not issues, but people create the issues. So things like racism or bullying or homophobia or body shaming, all of those things I tried to just take a sledgehammer to in the writing. And those were some of the guideposts that I followed.
Beautiful.
That's really smart. Yeah. Did you take some classes on writing, or what was your what did you major in college?
I had the curious and unique triumvirate of speech, communications, and theater. So I did a lot of writing.
Oh,
And,
is that right? Oh,
I
wow.
had, I had an English, minored in English, and I did a lot of writing in that. And I've always been a writer. I've always been a closet writer. I never told anybody that I was writing all these years. I just wrote for myself. And so this is how I finally produced a novel. I mentioned that I journaled when I was in college as a way to survive, actually, because I was having not a good time of it. And what I wrote is that a lot of it is actually in Red Clay Susie. A lot of what I wrote back then is in Red Clay Susie. And it looked like, if I go back and look at the notes, it looks like a novel. I kind of disassociated a bit and created these stories, to sort of get it out of me. And schoolwork got in the way. I had every intention of going back to it, but I put it away, put the journals away. And I didn't go back for decades. And so this is what, fast forward to several years ago, and I read two novels in succession. I reread To Kill a Mockingbird, the incandescent story. I've got
My favorite book. Yeah. That's what I set all my standards by, is
Yeah.
Harper Lee's book.
Yeah. And so there was a shock of recognition that I don't recall having when I read it as a teenager. The next week I read Call Me by Your Name by Andre Asimov. And there was something about these two books, they sparked, and I caught fire. I kind of tear up when I think about it, because it's the power of literature for me. And something happened, and I was back. I was 19 years old again and in college in my mind. And I knew that I had to go back and deal with this once and for all. And so I pulled out those journals, because I don't throw away anything.
Oh no, you're just like me.
And I read them. I read them with some embarrassment at how raw the emotion was and how they made me feel. And I said, I've got to finally finish this story. And so I started writing again on my mobile phone, on the train going to and from my job at the Library of Congress. And that's how I finished the first draft, on my mobile phone. And
That's crazy.
I finished it about halfway through. I realized that I wasn't finishing it for myself, because I'm okay. I finished it for those at-risk youth who are having a horrible time of it, as I did. Here's a statistic for you. 41% of LGBTQ youth seriously considered killing themselves in 2022, and 14% of them attempted it. And I felt compelled to do what I could, and what I could do is share my story. And that's actually, I'm also donating part of the proceeds to two organizations, the Trevor Project and the Born This Way Foundation, to support the important work that they do to enrich lives of at-risk youth, but to save them.
That's really incredible, because really, I always said, if one person can be saved by one book I pick, the world's going to be a better place. But it happens that it's going to happen over and over, and you may not hear about it for some time yet. But have you done a book signing in your hometown, or do they have a place, a library? How did that go? I'm really interested, because I wonder if some of your classmates came. Yeah.
Yes, I went back. So someone with whom I went to high school, we weren't best friends. She was a year in a different year, and she has recently moved back to our hometown, and she's part of this movement to revitalize this very small downtown area. She has a store called Recycle Revolution, and she interviewed me, and in came all these people from my childhood, people I went, people who were adults when I was, a child, and going to we knew them from college, from church, and then people from high school, and then a gaggle of current high schoolers showed up, and I was terrified. I was terrified. But they were so eager to hear what I had to say. And And it was, you know, I came out to my parents over 30 years ago, and I did it in tears and with great shame, because I was ashamed and they were ashamed. They were mortified. But writing this book and putting the story out there has been like coming out again, but not as just one part of me, but all of me. Admitting everything that I've spent years hiding, the inside and the outside of me. It has been the most healthy thing I have ever done. And I am so grateful that my community, my new friends and chosen family, and the community that I grew up among, have by and large rallied around me. I'm so grateful for that.
I'm so grateful to hear that story because they always say you can never go back home. I had a little bit different experience when I went home because I had a family member show up and told everybody to leave. So, you know, that'll be in my next book. But anyway, I am so glad you had a wonderful homecoming. And I think that all those kids that came are going to go, there's a published author from our hometown. You know, I never got to meet an author when I was in school. Did you? When you were in school, grade school or high school, did you meet an author?
No, I
Did
didn't.
you ever think you would become one?
No, I did not.
Me either. So every day I think to myself, well, I never thought I'd go back, be in graduate school either. So I'm just kind of living in shock and all these days. But I'll tell you, the one thing, facing those fears, you find out, you know, a big weight, a boulder gets rolled off your shoulders. And I'm so proud that you did this. And it was just meant to be when it happened. When I met you, you know, you've always been the loveliest person, and now I understand your costume for Girlfriend Weekend last year because it was so theatrical, and you had this theatrical. Did you ever play any? What type of plays did you do when you were in school, or were you playing? Just curious.
A lot of contemporary, a lot of Shakespeare. I was actually a professional actor for the first 15 years or so that I lived in Washington, D.C. I was a member
Oh my gosh,
of the
that
company.
is incredible! I believe it. I believe it.
Little film work. I was in a Super Bowl commercial, and
Oh my gosh.
my accountant wisecracks that that's the best work of your career.
Oh my gosh, that's just too funny. That's wonderful. And is that how you knew Dana? Did you know Dana from your acting days? We have another author coming to Girlfriend Weekend who runs one of the biggest dance companies in Washington D.C. and he just reached out to me and he said, "I found my tribe." Dana soon Dana soon I'll get it. He's got four names. It's Burgess, but he runs this wonderful dance company. And then I said, "Oh, you two need to get to meet," and they already knew each other. Isn't that the serendipitous? I just think these things are meant to happen when they do. But Dana has a wonderful book about his world of dance and growing up in New Mexico. Can you imagine? That probably wasn't the typical occupation that anybody go into coming from New Mexico, is to become, you know, contemporary dance. But I'm always fascinated by the story that hasn't been told, and they need to be told over and over and shared and shared. So anybody else want to jump in and make a comment or question?
I'd like to jump in. First of all, Jeffrey,
Sure.
it's been incredible to watch your success over this year. I first met you at Kathy's conference in January, and I have the photographs. I was just looking for it on my phone. That
Oh,
the theatrical out. Oh, it was incredible. But he and Robert Moore and my friend Samantha and I, we just had such a blast taking photographs with them. I don't know if you guys can see it.
oh yeah. Yeah, that was pretty incredible.
It was a riot. And you know, I was so intrigued with Jeffrey and his book. I was able to meet him again and Robert at the Foxtail Bookstore event, and I was like, I just have to go and hear what he has to say. So first of all, Jeffrey, I applaud you.
Thank you.
It takes a lot of courage to not just come out of your shell, but to put it in writing and expose yourself. Because what you have done is, by being courageous and taking that step forward, you've given others the courage to say, I can do this too.
Thank you, Anju.
And you will never know what that means, because you're the giver. It's the recipient who will understand the depth of what you've done for them. So I think it's incredible what you've done and the courage it took. And what I wanted to ask you was, I know you talked about your journey going toward a memoir and how closely aligned you were with Filbert, the character. And I apologize, I haven't read the book yet because this year has been very, very tumultuous for me. But it's on my it's on my to-read list. It is. But just having heard you talk 2 or 3 times now, I want to ask you, since this character seems to have come from a seed of your inner core, how did you create him and then distance yourself from Filbert?
What an interesting question. I never tried to distance myself from him. I wrote from the heart. We share a heart, Filbert and I. And what I wanted to do was, I lived by those guideposts that I mentioned, but I was also very focused on the pace of the book. I'm a Southern writer. I love Southern literature. I love the cadence of the dialogue. I love the overlong vowels.
Amazing.
They drip with tree sap, and they're operatic in how they exist. And I love that Southern literature embraces its oddities, its quirkiness. I love all of that, and so that's, no matter where I go, no matter where I live, where I travel, I'll always be a Southern writer. And something that I've noticed in all of the Southern literature that I've read is such a strong sense of place and pace. So I wanted to create this world so that we knew where we were living, where we were existing, where this story unfolds. And I tried to take I took my time with the first half of the novel to create a world, to build characters, so that so that about halfway through, when the book is more plot driven, I wanted it to barrel through to the end. And I envisioned it as being the way I think of a life playing out. When young, days last a lifetime. A summer lasts 5 years.
Yes.
But as we get older, they speed up, and they just go so quickly. And so I pace the book that way. The first half of the book is very, it takes its time. It explores people and place. And about halfway through is when it really picks up and barrels to the end, which is the way I think of a life playing out, the way my life seems to be playing out. So I never tried to distance myself from that character. And I didn't write, I'm a pantser. I did create 2 outlines. I actually was writing, not realizing I was writing a novel, initially. And so I didn't write to an outline. I just wrote to get it out of me. And I thought, this is a story I have to not just write, but share with people. And so I outlined where I wanted the story to go, put it to the side, continued to write, went back to the outline because I was way off course. It kept me in the world I wanted to create, but I wasn't adhering to the outline. I think for me, it's too restricted. I would never, it stifles the creative impulse in my view. So I went back and I outlined it for a second time, and then went through, and tried to sort of clean it up. It was way before the editing process began. But that's how I did it. And I never tried to distance myself from Filbert, because I am Filbert.
So let me ask you something, if I may ask another question. So we're able to understand what your book is doing for other people and how it's giving them the courage to step forward. in writing this book and creating Filbert, or whether he stems from you, whatever way works, what has this book given back to you in return?
Oh, it has to be the comfort of being inside my own body and mind and heart, because I've never felt comfortable inside my own body and mind and heart. I have always been an outsider. I think most of us can relate to that. It's the universal story. We all feel in some way as though we don't belong.
Yeah.
And I think for some of us, it's a little more extreme, a little more deeply held and held on to further into our lives. But I've always looked at the world. I've always looked from the outside into a world where I never felt that what I saw matched what was deep down inside of me. I think of myself as a fringy, and I think of other outsiders as my fellow fringies. And so writing this book has made me feel that it's okay to be different. And it's made me understand that you don't have to be perfect to be happy.
You know, I'm reminded of, as you're telling me this, of how much I used to love the story of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Remember the little stop animation
Yeah.
and the Island of Misfit Toys? I really related to those toys. I really related to that story. But my question now is for you. When you write a story such as yours and you've had to go back and lived in those past, lifetime, when you finish the book, where are you now? Where are you living now? What are you living in the present? Are you looking forward to the future? What is your mindset of where you're at right this moment?
I'm definitely living more in the present. I'm grateful for any future there is. And thinking about Filbert's future story, I mean, the book follows Filbert from the age of 4 through 18. And I see Red Clay Susie as a 3-book story arc. And
Good. I didn't know that. Oh, that's exciting. Have you
Yeah.
started working on the second one?
I have a really rough draft of the second book. I've just got to get
Thanks.
back to it. Yeah.
I am so happy to hear that. Tell us a little bit about the title of your book too, because that's what really grabbed me. It's so different from everything is far and somebody's daughter. There's so many books that sound exactly like, but Red Clay Susie is a standalone book. Where did you get this? Explain to everybody where this came from.
Well, as I mentioned, Southern literature is just, I love so much about it. The elongated vowels, it drips with like, syrup, pancake syrup, it embraces its oddities and makes oddity beautiful. And so one of the things that I've always noticed about Southern literature is that there's such a sense of place. And so I actually carry a jar of red clay with me wherever I go. And I know that some places I visited in the South, they know what red clay is, but I've taken this like to California where they don't have red clay. And I pass it around show and tell time, open it up, and there's such a beautiful mild aroma, and the touching it, people have touched the quality, the chalkiness of it, and that's what red clay in the title is about. It's a sense of place. I won't, and then Susie, I won't tell you about Susie because I don't want to give anything away, so you have to read the book to understand the Susie part of it. But my very favorite paragraph in the whole book is about red clay.
Yeah.
Like how the properties of it change depending on conditions. And I think that is true of a lot of us.
Absolutely. Anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, now that you brought up the title, it's such a great title. Did you work from the title to the story, or did the title come out of a phrase you happened to write? How did that happen?
I did not start with a title. A title came much, much later. My partner and I were talking about it, and I had some ideas, and he had some ideas, and none of them were right. And I said, red clay, red clay. It's got to have red clay in it. And he's the one who added Susie. So that's how it came about. And I can't tell you exactly the conversation because I'd give away Susie.
Yeah. Wow.
That's how it happened. And it was
Yeah.
after, I mean, it was long after I had a first draft of it. So it wasn't something I had in mind from the very beginning.
And could I also ask, I haven't read the book yet, I will, but I wanted to ask about the audiobook, because just from my own point of view, when I did the audiobook of Bees, I had a great time with it. Did you have was the audiobook something that helped you, that you thought added value, or was it something that doesn't quite reflect what you were trying to get across?
I love to read. I've always been a voracious reader, but I have trouble reading. My eyes won't hold out. I don't have the time I want to, so I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and I have my favorite narrators. And there's one narrator, his name is Pete Cross, and I love his work, and I've come to love him. He's a dear person. And so I don't think this is part of a lot of publishing contracts, but I had it written in that I would have like a say, some say in selecting. And so then I said to my partner, I said, I wish Pete Cross could narrate it. I wish he could do it. That will never happen. And when the audition reels came through via email, the files came in, and on one of the files was Pete Cross. And
Really?
I almost fell on the floor. I'm not exaggerating. I couldn't believe it. And all of the narrators were wonderful, but Pete Cross, had to be Pete.
You manifested that,
Yeah,
Jeffrey. You must have manifested that. Again, serendipity keeps coming into play. I feel like things are meant to happen for you, and I think they will continue to do so. You should think about, because of your theater background, writing the screenplay. Screenplay.
So
I think your voice and the way you are talking about the language and the rhythm, I think you need to write your own screenplay. I think it'd be incredible. So I'm
that's
looking.
already in the works. My partner is a writer. He's written a couple of screenplays. He's a documentary producer, and so he's experienced in that area. And so we've been working on that.
That is so cool. I'm so happy to hear that. That just made my day. I don't know about all you guys, but you better run and read this book because, he sent me this little matchbook car, and my grandson has that car now because he collects those things, and he loves playing in the dirt with all his little, I don't know if it's red clay up in Denton, but here it's ironic you'd say that about the clay, because my most cherished possession is the dirt my cousin and I dug up from my grandparents' home place, and it's on my mantle. And it's the first thing I grab if there's a tornado, and it's worth nothing. I could go back to the same place and get the dirt, but I've had it with me wherever I've gone, from California to, wherever. And it means the world to me. And I think it's like a totem of some sort.
Take home with you. Yeah.
And my grandparents, we used to call them Mud and Dirt. That was their names.
Really?
So Mud and Dirt. Yeah. I'll be writing a book about that one day. So anyway, you've got a screenplay maybe in the works. You've got audio. You've got a 3-part book series. I'm ready to. I wish I had more than iced tea in my Post Malone cup from Cane's tonight. I wish I had something to toast you. Well, I'll give you a toast to success on your new trilogy. Here, everybody, drink up. So I'll drink my tea.
Thank you. I'll drink too.
I'm really excited, and I hope it was worth the wait to the end of the year. But we always say we save the best for last. But I was really excited that you were November's pick because it's all about home, going home, coming home. And they say you can't go back home. Yes, you can. I've gone back many a time, and it's always bittersweet. But there's always those. There, nothing can take that feeling away from you of the kids you grew up with. And even though I mean, one of the girls that was the meanest to me when I was in school is now my biggest supporter. So, I laugh every time I see her because she's so friendly. It's just funny to me. But you just keep going, Jeffrey. And, any final comments to everybody about this process? And this has all been recorded, everybody. So it's going to be up on the Pulpit Queen channel forever. So if there are dear words you wish to share to the listening audience, please do so.
Well, first I want to thank you, Kathy, for being a champion for the writing community. You lift up so many, and I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Welcome.
And to the writers on the call tonight, I admire you so. Thank you for being here. And to the new authors who are not new authors, but new to the call, Mimi.
Welcome.
Yeah, so Amber has a book of poetry coming out next. I think it's June, if I'm not mistaken, June or May or June.
All right.
And Mimi's novel, The Kudzu Queen, was published this
Oh, we were just talking today. Okay, Mimi, I got it all put together. Okay, yeah, she hasn't sent it to me yet, but it's coming.
Yeah, and so I know Mimi and Amber because of Southern Festival of the Book, but Mimi was on the she was longlisted for the Center for Fiction First Novel Prize along with Red Clay Susie. So we met each other sort of virtually because we ended up on the long list together. So
wow.
Yeah.
Well, Jeffrey, do you know anybody by the name of Basinger?
I'm sorry, it cut out.
Basinger.
Kim Basinger?
No, it's just.
Oh, I don't know a Basinger, no.
Well, I'm a little leery about letting anybody in if we don't know who they are. So you know why.
That doesn't ring a bell at the moment, but I'll probably someone I know and I didn't realize.
Well, they can watch it on the channel because we're wrapping it up. But I'm really excited for you. So you're going to be in Kentucky, and that's this weekend.
This weekend. Mm-hmm.
This weekend at where is it going to be?
Robert will be there as well. Robert Gwaltney will be there as well. Yeah.
Great.
And the authors, Dan White is a podcaster. He's going to be there as well. And there's just a lot of folks who are going to be there. There's a lot of book festivals in the fall.
Yeah, you can kill yourself going to all those book festivals in the fall because they're hitting right now.
No complaints. I've loved.
No, we're very happy to have all of them, and we hope they keep going, including mine. So you guys, everybody, get everybody on board to Coming Girlfriend Weekend because I just confirmed Ann Hood is coming back. She's got a new book, The Stolen Child. Adriana is coming back as she wants to talk some more. And I cannot wait. We've got Abbott Kohler. We've got Jeffrey Matthews is going to be my co-host. We've got Marilyn Simon Rothstein. We've got Lisa C. Wow. Jamie Ford. Jamie Ford's having shoulder replacement surgery. I just read during Thanksgiving. Oh boy, what a fun time to have off. But Jamie will be here. And oh my gosh, Deborah Rodriguez is coming in from Mexico. Suzanne Kamada is going to be here. And I've got her book on the list. And I will, as soon as I get everybody responding that they're coming or letting me know if they'll participate in their week, we'll have it up before the year's out because it's Zoom. And I want you to get those Christmas sales. So if you are listening, please vote to thepulpitqueen@gmail.com, your book a year, international book, and bonus book. And also get everybody to come and sign up for the Pulpit Queen channel because the more people I have on the channel, the more they help promote it on YouTube. And I found out you have to have 1,000 members before you get that support, and I'm not close. And I have thousands of members. So please subscribe, it's free. And then, this year will determine if we have a 25th year, because COVID really zapped the I don't, the book club members, I don't know where they are. They're not responding like they normally do. So get them on board, and tell all of them, if you see them, be sure and come and see me at Girlfriend Weekend, because you are going to be up for Book of the Year. Everybody that's on the Book of the Month is up for Book of the Year. Everybody that's on International is up for International, and the bonus books are up for International Book of the Year. And I'm going to have some special prizes, so I hope you're there to get them. So the theme is Barbie Land. And, Greta Gerwig did an outstanding job with that film. And I was a Barbie girl. And we've had many Barbie events. We've had Barbie birthday parties and all kinds of things. So come as your favorite book club Barbie, book club Ken, author Ken, whatever, for the Friday night author meet and greet. And then for Saturday night, it's Girls Just Want to Have Fun. That was the big Cyndi Lauper song in the movie. And, maybe we can get the Kens to do that dance like, like the young man in the movie. And then Sunday night is our awards. And I've told everybody, what would Barbie and Ken wear to the Oscars? So get in your closets, dig out the bow ties. You've got the tuxedo, whatever. We want to have fun with it. And then hopefully we'll be back in 2025 for our 25th anniversary, y'all. 25 years of reading together. And this last 5 years has been tough with COVID, but I've kept going no matter what. I've gone through diabetes and everything, but I'm still here. So I am excited about it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing it here from the University of Texas. So the costume changes will be interesting, but school doesn't start until the Monday after Girlfriend Weekend. So I'll go from that to my UT Tyler sweatshirt. So thank you all for joining. Jeffrey, be sure and blog. I pre-approved your blogging on the Public Queen Presents page. So put everything up where you're going to be. I've been trying to share as many things. I've been saving the photo of us together at Girlfriend Weekend to share, but I'll get it up this weekend. It's Robert, you, me, and who else is in the picture? I'm trying to think. It may have been Laura. Laura was in the picture with us, but anyway, your costumes were outstanding, and we will have a tiara contest. We will have a Timber Guy of the Year contest, and we will have a hairball queen. So join us in Barbie Land, and y'all just keep reading. If anything, Jeffrey has given us testimony of how important reading can change your life and give you direction to find your dreams coming true, right? So, any last words, Jeffrey?
Thank you all. Keep reading.
Keep reading. As always, it's all about the story. And thank you, Mimi, and thank you, Amber, for coming in, and Suzanne, and Anju, and Kathy Ramsberger, Jeffrey. Can't thank you enough. So you all have a wonderful holiday, and we'll see you down the road. Next week, the meeting is going to be at 5:00 Central Standard Time, because I have a university thing to go to on that Tuesday night. It's real weird. But anyway, I'm moving it up to 5. So it'll be 7 New York time, and it'll be 3 at Pacific Coast time. So I hope you can join. If not, you can always go to the Public Queen channel and watch it. So I'll have it up by tomorrow morning, okay? Thank you, Jeffrey. You're wonderful.
Thank you.
Here's to
Well
Red
done.
Clay Susie Part 2. I can't wait. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.